You're listening to
I Don't Do Sci-Fi.
Episode 8. We Can All Go Home Alive.
Hello and welcome to I Don't Do Sci-Fi. I'm Dani Ray and with me are Rebecca Ray.
Hi.
John Isles.
Hello.
And introducing Mark Alley.
Hello.
Last time I was shown the 1980 Star Trek films Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, Star Trek III, The Search for Spock, and Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home. As you'll have heard, listeners, Star Trek IV was my favourite of these three films. In today's episode, we are going to be turning the tables. I will be showing Rebecca and John a sci-fi series that I like that they have never seen before. This episode will be focusing on the 2021 Netflix sci-fi series The Silent Sea.
Apologies, listeners, if you struggle to understand anything me and my sister say in this episode, because we've both come down with a cold this week, so we keep losing our voices.
To be fair, I got the cold, I passed it on to Rebecca.
Yeah, she passed it on to me the other day.
I keep thinking I'm getting better, and every day I get worse. It's great. And today my voice has decided to just disappear on me. If it gets edited and my voice disappears and comes back again, you know I said it at a different time.
It's a tradition anyway. We've tried podcast onwards. At least one of us has some kind of cold of some kind when we've done a recording.
Yeah. So sorry guys if we're
not
sounding to our optimum best.
So anyway, let's get on with the rest of the episode.
So before we get into discussing our chosen sci-fi, I want to introduce our guest for this episode, Mark Alley. So, how are you doing, Mark?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. Excited. Concerned most people may not understand my accent, but we'll have a go. Points for guessing where I'm from.
Well, Mark, you're fine because people have said that they really like the Yorkshire accent to this podcast. That's from an American, so if he can understand Dani, then I'm sure they'll have no trouble with you.
Got some chance then.
Although, being on audio, we can't really provide subtitles. Although, with today's subject, it actually does have subtitles.
So you're looking forward to your first podcasting experience, Mark?
I am, yeah. We'll see how it goes.
Have you heard any of our previous episodes?
I have, yes. I enjoyed Dani's take of Death Race 2000, to say the least. She had some very interesting talking points.
She still hates rollerball.
Yeah, you enjoyed the sport, you just didn't like the drama.
I mean, if you want to call it drama, sure.
Yes, we do call it drama, Dani.
So let's talk about the sci-fi I'm introducing to John and Rebecca. The Silent Sea is a 2021 South Korean television series. Director Choi Hang-yong adapted his 2014 short film The Sea of Tranquillity into this 8-episode series with the help of writer Park Yeon-kyo. It premiered on Netflix on the 24th of December 2021. The title, The Silent Sea, comes from the Sea of Tranquillity on the moon. In the near future, a crew of military and scientists are sent to an abandoned station situated on the moon. Their mission is to collect 3 samples that were lost in a major incident that also lost the lives of all the scientists residing on the moon station. But when the team arrive, things aren't as expected. The fan response to the series was mixed. Nevertheless, according to the Best of Netflix website in January 2022, The Silent Sea had topped Netflix's global charts to become the most watched non-English series in its second week, surpassing Squid Games.
Alright, I'm hijacking this bit. So with the introductions done, we're going to travel back in time a few days and listen to some moments from John, Rebecca and Dani watching The Silent Sea. Let's hear how it went.
So today I have Rebecca and John with me as the sci-fi noob. And I have personally watched this on my own without anyone telling me to watch it, without any prodding or poking. And it's a Korean sci-fi show that we're going to watch today, but we're changing it up a bit. I'm showing the sci-fi, and Rebecca and John are going to be subjected to it.
Yeah, because we've never seen this before.
That's it, so we're going to see what their view is on sci-fi I've chosen.
And what's it called, Dan?
It's called The Silent Sea. Now, what do you think it might be about?
All that's coming to my mind is weird stuff like A Lull in the Sea and Ponyo and stuff, but they're all fantasy based. I don't know, I'm just getting fantasy images in my head of sea stories. I don't think it's going to be anything like that.
What about you, John?
I read an article on this when they made it in SFX magazine, so I know it's set in space, and the Silent Sea is a kind of fancy way of talking about the vastness of space. I don't even know whether it's about traders or whether it's about a space war. I don't know.
So you read that in the article at the time it came out?
I think it's only 2021 or something like that. It's not. It's only in the last couple of years it's come out.
It's not very old.
Yeah. And for our channel, it's very new. It's very modern.
It is. But
it's breaking our self-imposed rule that we don't do stuff later than Yoo-hoo.
But we have.
Well, yes. But that's fine. I mean, I'm quite used to watching subbed films and programmes.
Good, because it will be subbed. So shall we begin?
Yeah.
The epic journey of the Silent Sea.
Yes.
I like the watery themed opening titles.
Yes. Living up to the title.
Rebecca and John seem to be impressed by the opening credits. Could this be a good sign of things to come?
It's got a theme that's longer than 30 seconds.
That's good.
And has a melody.
That is something I miss in modern TV, definitely.
Yeah. Oh, what does that say?
The Silent Sea.
Probably, yes. My Korean's a bit rusty.
Rebecca is disturbed by the dystopian future setting, while John tries to work out which moons in real life have water sources.
So they have an equivalent of bread lines, but it's water lines. You fill up your tub, that is really grim. I guess that if the water is disappearing on the planet, on Earth, then I guess that adds to that symbolism of the water opening titles.
So they're looking for water source elsewhere in the solar system.
Maybe that's what they're trying to do.
Like frozen. Which one's frozen? There's one.
Io.
Yeah, I think so.
Io's got frozen methane.
Not so good.
No, not so good. I don't think they could really.
No, there is one of Jupiter's moons does have an underwater sea. It could be Titan. See, if Kevin was here, he'd be telling us right now exactly what it is.
Would. Or we could look for a giant meteor that's made out of ice.
Our survey said...
John and Rebecca think the authority in charge of the lunar mission are sus as fuck.
Wait, so they're going on a mission to the moon to find samples of some substance in a research base, but no one remembers what the substance is because the data was lost.
I think they know what it is. They're just
lying.
Yeah.
You'd be thinking, well, that makes no sense.
Yeah,
They've got to be lying.
How would they not know?
Because otherwise, why would you go?
Why go to so
Let's
much
just
trouble?
go for this some mysterious substance. They must know what it is.
Never trust somebody in authority wearing a white suit.
See, the military are like, oh, that's okay, we don't need the info because that's how they work, but scientists are going to question.
Just when is the Silent Sea set anyway? Well, at least John and Rebecca are impressed by the CGI shuttle and moonscape effects.
I can tell it's CGI, but it looks convincing enough to be real. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it looks good. I'm just wondering when this is set, how many years in the future. It feels near future, like Sarcops was.
Yeah, it never says. Oh, so far anyway.
The crew's rapidly depleting oxygen is unnerving Rebecca and John. So what did you think of the first episode?
Very tense, them all running out of oxygen and that noise, that incessant beeping noise, warning them that their oxygen's low.
Yeah, saying 1% plug into life support. Well, yeah, I know I need to plug into life support. I've got 1% oxygen left.
Yep.
Which is just going to stress you out more so you breathe harder.
Exactly. I hope they've got oxygen to spare inside the base.
We'll find out.
We really will. But yeah, I didn't know it was a disaster, mission gone wrong story. But it's good.
John and Rebecca's suspicions about the mission continue to grow.
They're lying.
So there's more going on here than would be
Of course. Of course, there is no radiation leak.
No, I didn't think there was.
No.
Dr. Song's muted behaviour triggers a debate about East Asian women character tropes.
If it made her, Dr. Song, autistic, remembering things like the guy in a different pair of glasses on 5 years ago.
Maybe she doesn't suffer fools or people in general.
She just has a very good memory from one 5-minute meeting 5 years ago. It's very different.
Well, you saw her drawing that map, which I presume shows her memory.
Yeah,
Which she saw in the meeting followed 5 seconds probably.
exactly, yeah.
I don't know about Korea, but in Japan there is a trope of a particular type of character where they're female and they don't express emotions. They're very limited in their speech, very collected.
Yeah, I must admit in a lot of dramas you see there's lots of women like that. But I think that stereotype that you're saying about is because women are stereotypically seen as weaker and showing emotion and being a specific type of woman, especially in Asia. They do have that stereotype, so you do get where there are some women who are just like, I'm going against that.
Yeah, and they're very, very inexpressive.
And you've got to remember their ways of being polite is completely different to us and how they communicate with people.
Yeah.
A mysterious life sign has been detected on the moon base, and the ensuing hunt begins, which reminds Rebecca and John of another classic sci-fi thriller.
It's turned into aliens. It's got emotion.
I thought that.
It's got a motion sensor.
Yeah.
And there's
And
life.
Yeah, they picked up an unknown biosignal. It's a xenomorph, John.
It is. It's a stealth alien series.
I think it's above them.
Yeah.
Not in the duct. It is. It's going so like I don't think it's one of us. A Dots movie. I'll check, you two wait here. Oh dear. It's a horror film now.
As the crew's mission is increasingly looking like a horror show, I feel concerned about John and Rebecca's seeming death wish.
Now he's on his own in a corridor and I'm getting massive alien vibes. Oh, there's something scary and unknown down there. Let's just have one person go.
Yeah. Don't put your hand into a dark, unknown space.
Okay.
With a flickering torch. Yes.
Or is something turning it on off?
I don't like this. Did something touch you?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's enough of a presence to drag him back into the room.
Well, what would you do at that point? Would you turn around?
No, I suppose you
try and help him.
Help him, find out what's going on.
Run the fuck away before you get caught in it all.
You nope it down.
Yeah!
Whoa!
I've just seen someone grab a fully grown man and take him out.
And lift him up against a wall.
Yeah, I'm gone.
Not even just the wall, but high up, like ceiling level.
Yeah.
The mysterious circumstances surrounding the dead Moonbase staff is arousing Rebecca and John's curiosity.
The old ground. Did someone just fill up the whole base with water?
But you'd see signs of it on the surfaces.
It wouldn't dry, would it? Oh, sorry.
Oh shit.
Water.
It's like 28 days later.
It's gone in his eye. Yeah. But now he's infected.
Yeah, it definitely looked like he was infected by something.
It's Doctor Who Waters of Mars.
I was just going to say that. I'm thinking this is getting Waters of Mars vibes as well.
It's one of those things I did actually say to Kevin, that it has that bit of a vibe with that.
I was thinking, oh no, is it going to become where they start infecting each other?
Yeah.
Rebecca and John recoil at the horror as a crew member is infected.
Waters of Mars.
Yeah.
Suddenly standing in the corridor, breathing dodgily.
Yeah. So is he going to turn into a zombie, or he's just going to drown without being in water? It is water in Mars. A man vomiting water. Projectile vomiting water.
Jesus. That's epic amounts of water.
Exactly. That isn't normal.
3 episodes, guys. So, what do you think so far?
I'm enjoying it. I'm liking the mystery of it. There's quite a few things clearly that's been covered up by the government,
Yes.
but we don't know what it is. It does feel like a Waters of Mars virus, like a serious version of Water Mars.
Yeah, so it's kind of a mashup between that alien and a disaster movie in a way, with a spacecraft crashing, plus corporate government cover-up, dodgy experiments.
Yeah.
So whether it's alien or man-made, don't know.
And also the world being in a terrible state with the Great Drought happening and having to euthanize all their pets and rationing water.
That's not being shared equally, is it?
No.
That's why people were rioting or protesting over it.
Mm.
It's good.
Yeah. I'm glad you seem to be enjoying it.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to watch the rest because I want to know what happens to these characters.
You gonna want to watch the rest, John?
Yeah, I want to know how it ends.
Yeah.
Of course I want to know. I don't hate it or anything, so I've got no reason not to continue.
Yeah, I want to find out what happens with Dr. Song, and I want to see if they do manage to get any water, uncontaminated water, back to Earth, and if anything good comes of this mission, or if they all end up dead. What?
Yeah, well, actually,
a happy
happens,
ending then.
Yeah. Right, so we'll pick back up in the panel.
Yes.
So, with the tables turned, watching you guys react, I couldn't really read you that well. I know you're positive in what you were saying, but I couldn't read you that well to know if you enjoyed watching it, if you wanted to watch more, if it was something you actually cared about. So yeah, discuss.
Well, I'm going to be honest, when we were first watching it with you, I was in a lot of pain that day. I'd hurt my legs, so I was having more and more trouble concentrating as time went on. So when I decided to rewatch the first 3 episodes,
it was 3.
again on my own, and I really got absorbed in them the second time round.
Yeah.
I remember me and John were comparing it at first with the Water of Mars episode of Doctor Who, weren't we, John?
Yeah, there was, with the streams of water coming out of people's mouths.
Infecting people
Yeah.
on the moon, not Mars, but
Yes.
people in spacesuits, infection.
Close enough.
Yeah, water in space.
I enjoyed it. I watched the rest of it over a few days afterwards. Had to watch it in Korean, of course. Always watch it with subtitles if I can. Dubbing is never perfect, really, unless it's in animation. But even then, I'll try and watch the original language.
What?
Yeah, to be honest, all anime fans right now are going, what? At that comment.
What?
People watch anime subbed, not dubbed.
I know. I've watched some if I don't have a choice.
I must admit that I sometimes watch
well-
things in dubbed. It depends on what I'm doing.
When I went to see Spirited Away at the cinema, our group of friends split into 2 factions. There was me and one other who went to see the Japanese version, and everyone else went to see the American/English dub.
No.
But having watched the English dub on DVD, it's fine, but I always watch it in original Japanese.
Yeah, sometimes things just can't be nuanced in the same way.
No.
It was made that way. You got to watch it that way, in my eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, my wife, Amy, struggles because she has dyslexia. So if she has to watch something subtitles like Pan's Labyrinth, for example, because there is no English dub of that, she just has to pause every so often to read the subtitles. So it's
Yeah.
fine. But, given a choice, she'd probably watch this in English just because it's easier for her.
I know when I was younger, I would always go dub over sub because I found I used to just be reading and not what was actually happening on screen. And then I found as I've done it more, it's like practice. So the more that you watch
Yes.
subtitles, the
Yeah.
more you can actually watch the actual program at the same time.
You're paying more attention to it, aren't you?
Yeah. It is a skill to learn, so I do appreciate if there's people out there who haven't learnt that skill yet and they don't want to.
I think the most difficult thing to watch with subs I found was Kashern, which is a Japanese film, and it was just so gorgeous. I had to keep rewinding it because I couldn't focus on the subtitles and the gorgeous visuals because it was just something you really wanted to look at.
Why do you like it, Dani? Why did you choose this for us?
Well, me and Mark stumbled across it one afternoon.
Yeah.
We are definitely on the Korean hype after Squid Games.
Yeah, the invasion hit hard, didn't it?
Yeah, and we were just like, give us more, give us more, give us more.
So
Yeah.
that's what started it for you two then, the Squid Games.
Yeah, what definitely for me.
I
Yeah.
haven't seen that yet, actually.
Oh,
Me
you need
neither.
to. But anyway,
It's
I'm
on
not
my-
talking about that.
Incredible show.
But yeah, and then we were just really in the mood, weren't we? For we were just like, oh, we want to watch something else that was gripping. And yeah, that was just on, and one afternoon we binged it in the entire afternoon.
Yeah,
Wow.
I think Netflix had a trailer on, didn't it?
Yeah.
In like the little passing bits.
Of course, yeah.
But I watch quite a lot of kind of Chinese and Japanese stuff anyway, anime, all that kind of stuff, read manga. So it's not too dissimilar to what I would normally watch. It was certainly different enough, though. I can't say I've ever watched a sci-fi from anything that wasn't Western, and it was interesting. I loved kind of the mystery and suspense to it, the concept as a whole as well, that being confined in that one area. It kind of reminded us of Sunshine, 2007 show with Cillian Murphy.
I have not seen that.
Amazing show. Kind of same vibe I got.
Yeah, it's about a space mission to the sun that's burning up.
Yeah, it's the one. They've got it,
I've
Save
heard
the
of
Sun.
Chris Evans is in it.
Yes, he is, yeah.
Before he was
Wait,
Chris
is this the
Evans.
one Brian Cox was consulting on?
Yes.
Right, that's how I know
Danny
about
Boyle,
it.
wasn't it?
And are we talking about Chris Evans? We're talking about the
Yeah,
American actor,
American
not
actor,
the
not the
ginger
DJ, no.
We talk about Captain America.
Yes, that Chris Evans.
Got to double check for our audience, not just me.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, I just know about this because
Yeah,
Brian
it's a
Cox
good
talks
film.
about it on Infinite Monkey Cage.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it was, I don't know, I like the story gripped me. I think it wasn't necessarily the water aspect that gripped me, but I think it was like the mystery that it continues, and it is a sci-fi, but it is a bit of a thriller at the same time, and I think it was that part of the genre that pulled me in. I'd say it's the first non-comedy space thing that I've really, really enjoyed that you guys hadn't shown me.
Yeah.
Because I have enjoyed some of the things that you've shown me, but I do tend to go down the comedy space side.
Yeah, when I think about it, all the sci-fis you have seen before this podcast are all comedies. Got the Jetsons, Red Dwarf, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Futurama.
Yeah, Lower Decks.
Lower Decks is
Yeah.
Avenue 5's another one.
Yeah, Avenue 5. So yeah, this was the first actual serious space thing
that you chose.
that I chose, and it wasn't somebody told me you've got to watch it, and I was forced. Like,
For a podcast.
like the character in Clockwork Orange when he gets his eyes like prized open. It wasn't that scenario like you do with some of the things you've made me watch.
Yeah, so this Silent Sea, it does cross genres a bit. It's sci-fi mixed with thriller and mystery.
Yeah, I think that was it. I think it's the thriller and the mystery that pulled me in, and then I stayed for the sci-fi.
I remember now, it's one of the things we commented on in the reactions was some of the thriller elements reminded me and John of the film Alien, when they're going down a dark corridor on the spaceship and looking at a scanner and they're like, there's another biosignal ahead. Oh no, what is it? It's coming towards us. It's coming. It's nearly here. Oh no, it's over us, and it's gone. Wait, where is it? Obviously in the vent, kind of
course.
know what's coming.
And even closer to Aliens, you've got a young adolescent girl who's living in the ducks, living wild, and he's given a tracker by the main characters to wear. I'm not saying that it was derivative, it's just an interesting parallel that there's so many comparisons with like Alien and Aliens and any other number of things set in enclosed environments.
And you know, like just like the Alien movies, it is actually dangerous for a viewer to get attached to any of the crew in this mission because most of them are basically there to be horror film fodder. They'll get their little character moment, then at some point they're just going to meet their terrible, grisly end.
Yeah.
So we don't really get to know anyone beyond the two main, who I am going to say are the two main characters, which is Dr. Song and Captain Han. So we've got Dr. Song, who's the astrobiologist, and she's there as a mission specialist, but she's also trying to find out how her sister died on the moon, so she's got that as an ulterior motive. And then there's the mission commander, Captain Han, who is willing to do the foolhardy mission, no questions asked, basically because his daughter is dying and he needs water, which the mission will reward him with. So and of course, yes, we've also got that mysterious girl you mentioned, John, who they found abandoned on the moon base, but other than that, the rest, they're just, oh, that's the engineer, oh, that's the pilot, oh, that's the other doctor. They're all just there to eventually be bumped off one by one. Yeah, so she's called Luna
73.
Luna 073, a girl who's been found, and she was an experimental clone and had been living on her own for 5 years on this space station miraculously.
With no food, no water.
There was water, as we know.
Yeah, there was plenty of water for her, I guess.
Yeah, there was, but you never saw her have any of it. You saw her have some of the food, the sweets that Dr. Song gives her.
Oh, speaking of similarities to other shows, the opening titles with a swirl of water going glug 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 as it came towards the camera. This sort of slow movement and impressions of a spacesuit was like the opening titles for Star Trek Discovery. What do you think, Rebecca?
I mean, I guess there's the hand.
The hand and
gloves.
bits of technology and stuff approaching and forming shapes.
I think this is very, very grasping. I don't really see it.
That's what it reminded me of.
For me, and actually it's probably going to be the only other sci-fi that is not a comedy that I watched, Fringe. The opening made me think of Fringe's opening.
Yeah.
And I think that's because of the black and the blue.
Yeah.
There's lots of black and blue.
So, speaking of the opening then, obviously you've seen the full thing now.
Yes.
So what did you think about kind of that opening referring back to the story? Because for me, once I'd finally watched the end, it was like, oh, that astronaut that's fallen in the water, that's symbolic of X, Y, and Z who've drowned in it in the same type of scene. And then the astronaut that's propped up against the rock at the end is obviously very much Captain Han.
Yeah.
But it's also Captain Han and then the other guy, Mr. Huang,
Oh, yeah.
at the beginning.
That's what I was thinking,
It's
is
like
it
a
him?
weird big circle, isn't it? It's like, it happens in the first episode and then it happens again in the last episode. So it's like a nice little like mirror image.
Yeah, it's like it's telling you the full story in
I
mystery.
I thought these are clues to what's going to happen, because some things were like, okay, I'm not sure what this is about in the opening titles, but it started to become more apparent as episodes went on.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially the water thing, because quite quickly it's made apparent in the show that in this world, Earth is suffering from what's been called the Great Drought, where there's no water left on the planet.
Yeah.
Yeah, no
Pretty
water.
much.
Yeah.
I think we misunderstood that when we were doing the reactions, because we thought it was contaminated, but it was just a case of, no, it's an actual proper drought.
And they showed it in English and then in French as well.
Yeah, we showed
different news channels to make it a bit more like it's a global thing. It wasn't just a Korea thing.
Yeah, and they were having to ration water, but they were doing it in a really horrible, unequal way, where certain people would get more privileges. They'd get a gold card for more water than other people.
Yeah.
Then there was that Dr. Song's Save the Cat moment where she has so much water that she can feed a stray dog or a pet dog to show that she's got empathy, and also gives the other meaning that, she's got that gold card where she can have unlimited water.
I didn't read it as empathy in the same way. I know it is empathetic that she's thinking, because there's the whole thing about getting rid of the pets, euthanizing the pets, because they need to ration like the water supply.
Because pets are illegal now.
And animals, it's they're not classed as priority. But it started off with her finding out her sister's being killed in what she thinks is a freak accident. They're just like, keep it hush hush. We're going to give you the gold card.
Yeah.
To shut you up. And so she was pissed off. She was absolutely annoyed. And she went out going, fuck you and fuck your water. And she threw it on the floor.
Yeah,
and
she
that's
did.
What she was doing.
She was really angry. And that's when the dog appeared.
And then after that, the dog was like lapping up like the water on the floor. And I think at that point she was just like, do you know what? I see it from an empathy point of view, but I think it was more of a fuck you to the government kind of way.
I think it was.
And she was like, I'm going to keep this dog alive.
So she took the dog in illegally.
Yeah. Which is quite funny, because later on you see one of the other higher-ups who's got kittens. And I was just like, oh, wow. So, you're all kind of being a bit... I would be. I'm sorry. If I wouldn't be able to not if I knew there was, an animal about.
That's the thing, though, isn't it? It's a social hierarchy where it's all corrupt, because once you get over those certain levels, you can do basically what you want.
Yeah.
Or like Captain Han's daughter. The doctor said, well, if she had more water, that might increase her chances of recovery.
Yeah.
So they can't just give her more water when she needs that treatment.
Because she's not important enough.
Yeah, she needs to have that higher grade of water access, which it's just so wrong how the whole system's been set up, and that's why there were people protesting.
Or like that bit when the water spilled and they're all
and
rushing
everyone went
towards
running
the water.
for it.
Yeah.
And they're all beating.
The police were shooting at them.
Yeah, shooting at them to stop, and people were just like, no, I'm getting that water. It was only going to go in the road anyway.
It's the control.
It's to stop a riot happening, but a riot had started, so like you said, Max said, it's just control.
And it's the water grade that's getting all these characters onto this mission, because a lot of them are just doing it to get that higher water grade. Because they're always saying that, saying, I'm just doing this to get the water.
Yeah, it's one of the pilots, isn't it? And he were asking and stuff, and one of them just turned around. It don't matter, because he was like, we're all going to be Class A when we come out of here.
Yeah, and then they're turning to Dr. Song going, oh, what grade are you? And she's just not saying, because she's got the highest class.
Gold card.
Which would look a bit weird.
Yeah, it's like, why's she going?
Yeah.
Especially when she's not allowed to say why.
Yeah, of course, she couldn't save it. Her sister died in the accident.
It is interesting, though, as well. You've got a world where everyone's so desperate for water, and then you go onto this space station and instantly it's hydrophobic. You've got to keep away from it at all
Yes.
costs.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's funny, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, quite early on, when they first go on the space station, there's this great mystery. They're finding all these dead bodies of the scientists, and they're all showing signs of drowning. And they're like, sorry, what? There's no water here. How are they all drowned? And
Yeah.
and then you got the co-pilot, Jisoo, who's a complete tool, and he's basically making jokes, saying, we may have died, but at least he didn't die thirsty. It was just like such a crass, insensitive joke. But
It is crass and insensitive, but I'm going to say it from just a devil's advocate kind of point of view here. Sometimes when it's a coping mechanism. Like, he's meant to be, part of this space team. A lot of them are all military-based, and he's ex-military.
Yeah.
So he probably comes across as a dick, but it's probably just his coping mechanism. So that he doesn't feel it, because of the amount of times he's had to
I see what you mean.
horrific things.
Of course, yes.
And continue on, because that's what you've got to do.
yes, I see what you mean. Yeah, the military bants thing.
Yeah. I mean, there's a few military guys in there, so they should get that kind of...
But yeah, even they were a bit
attitude.
like, ooh,
It was a
much.
bit much, but that's probably because they don't know him. If they knew him, they might go, "Oh, it's just the way he is." Because then you've got also like your doctor and your you've got two doctors. One's a scientist doctor and one's a medical doctor.
Yeah.
But obviously they're going to be like, "Okay, this is a bit weird." But it's like I say, it's that just like coping mechanism. Come out with some dark jokes sometimes, and it's just the way you have to be.
But yeah, that was an interesting setup. It's like, why isn't the moon base flooded with radiation when we were told it was an accident, a reactor leak? I mean, it's like, why is a man drowned in a dry corridor? It's like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
You know, it felt a bit like the X-Files episode Ice with the parasite that was taking people over.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's definitely a theme in this of this kind of corrupt government, corporations, and suspicious people in charge, because they didn't tell them the full truth when they set up this mission. They're like, you're going to collect these a sample. We're not going to tell you what it is.
It's just a sample in this canister.
There's just three opportunities for samples. Please go get them.
And this place, it had to be shut down because there was a radiation leak. So sad.
Everyone died.
So you've got to do it in 24 hours, in, out, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, done.
No questions asked. Just, risk your lives doing this.
Yeah.
Which is actually something I noticed, and I'm going to ask if you guys kind of picked up on it. But all the men just went along with it. And it's the two women
who were
asking questions. And I'm not saying that as a gender thing. It was just interesting because of the jobs they did. Because all the men are military. So military people will just go, I've been told my mission, I don't question it, I just go do.
Yeah.
But the two people who asked were the two scientists.
Yes, the scientists are going to inquire things.
Who are going to be like, hold on a second, what's going on here?
Yeah, because they're saying, well, we need to know what kind of substance it is, because otherwise we don't know how to handle it safely or contain it, or this and this and this.
We just said keep it at this temperature or below this temperature, didn't they?
Yeah.
And I think that's a good point there, that, the women were the scientists, so they had the inquiring, curious mind, so they were asking all these questions, whereas the men were all military, and they would just, stop asking questions.
But I'm also going to say as well, do you not think it's interesting that at the end... Although it's an ambiguous ending for one of the characters, isn't it interesting how it's the women who survive
and the men
have died?
Yeah, well,
is that a gender question that they're putting out there, or is it just that an inquisitive mind you don't get killed by the curiosity? The curiosity is healthy, and when you just go along, that's when you're gonna get.
Like, what's the message behind it?
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah, because I there were a couple of moments where I thought Dr. Hong wasn't going to make it out alive.
Yeah. I guess because you had the pilot, Kim Sung, he just kept believing rescue was going to come and they were just going to get home, and he's just like, we'll just do this, we'll do this quick job, this task, and then we'll sit tight and go home. And it never happens.
No. It's sad, really, especially when he's the one who gets shot.
He does get shot, but he also gets infected on the other side of the glass.
Yeah.
And it was just really horrible, and I was just like...
Gets it from both sides, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Because it turns out there was more than one traitor among the crew.
Yes.
Spoilers.
In fact, were the people they were speaking to were in English and had American accents. So is there some kind of metaphor there about the West being the bad guys?
I wondered that. I wondered if it was that, or if it was just the fact that
It's just convenient and there's nothing to it.
I was just
deeper
thinking
than that.
I was just
This is
thinking, yeah,
corporation.
I was just thinking, is it more of just a bit of a way to make it feel a bit more like it's international?
Yeah.
And it's not just Korea, to give it a bit some authenticity that actually
Yes.
there would be other corporations involved.
Yeah.
And obviously, if it's going to be a big corporation, they're going to like speak in the language that is the most
Yes.
common one, which is English is the language
Of
of
course.
business, isn't it? It's one of those things.
Well, at the end, they were saying, because originally these corporations, the government wanted the samples to be retrieved for the benefit of Korea, but at the end, the characters like Dr. Song and Dr. Hong are argued, saying, no, we should be using this for the benefit of all of the world. It should be shared with everyone.
But it's that thing, isn't it? That in a crisis, there's still rich people
Yes.
out for themselves and out to make a buck, isn't it? And be the leader of
Yeah, there was
new
a-
technology.
There's
Yes,
a mention of a
course.
company called RX,
Yeah,
and one of the characters refers to it as the resource mafia as a joke. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
It's just a big corporation, isn't it?
Yeah, so they're the international corporation that's almost got kind of the same level of power as a country, effectively.
And
Yeah.
that's who's employing the traitors.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if they might be like the Silent Sea version of Samsung. Because, like, in real life, fears of corporate control are very strong in South Korea. They've got a very workplace-focused lifestyle, and they work longer hours than any other developed economy. And that economy is dominated by the Samsung Corporation, which represents over 20% of South Korea's GDP.
Yeah.
It's just accepted by South Koreans that Samsung will always get what they want from government and have their fingers in every pie. It's also like every aspiring parent's dream that their child will grow up to become a Samsung middle manager and push them relentlessly at school to get a shot at the entrance exam. So yeah, if a corporation were to come in and take over the operation, it's just something South Koreans would be cynically expecting.
Right.
Plus, as we were talking about earlier, the mega rich families of these corporate elites can basically get away with anything in society.
Yeah.
As the law is scared of touching them anyway. So you can bet they've all got gold cards.
sounds a bit like what you see in some Japanese animes, or even Cyberpunk 2077. That's very much a corporate-run society. And even the Outer Worlds as well, that's another sci-fi, where corporations run everything in your entire life.
Blade Runner, Tyrell Corporation.
Oh yeah, Blade Runner, that's a bit of an obvious one, isn't it?
Is there any other characters that stood out to you?
Yes. Why don't the two military specialists E1 and E2 have a name?
I know, it's
Yeah.
so sad, isn't it?
E2's pretty baller as well. You know, he does try to warn them before inevitably getting the fridge treatment.
Oh no,
Yeah.
when he got fridged, I was like, no.
Yeah, literally
It
got
was
fridged.
Dr. Hong found E2 in the fridge.
Yeah, it was a man for a change. But yeah, there were military personnel going to an abandoned moon base where everyone had allegedly died from radiation leaks. Why did they all have handguns? What were we going to use them against?
It's a good question.
That is a good question.
I mean,
military?
obviously, if you watch it, they're to use against
Yeah.
each other, but, you know, that's just a convenience.
Yeah, I would think that.
I think that could indicate just how corrupt the whole mission was. One of the things I wrote down at the beginning was just how much does Captain Han know? How much does anybody know about
Yeah.
this? Are they all being told different things?
Yeah, they've all been
then-
told half of a picture.
Yeah,
really,
they've all
haven't
been given parts of it that don't marry up.
they? Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
for the drama, they're all given guns. Which
Well, no, I'm not
they
saying
needed.
that. I'm saying it's
about
'cause
how
of the
corrupt
corruption.
it is.
Okay.
Because they knew it was military base, because they were asking the military to go in with a couple of doctors.
Yeah, and they're probably
Yeah.
aware that there were mercs and stuff.
Yeah,
So
they knew what was going on,
Mm.
so they were like, right, we're going to prep you. And so certain people were told certain information,
Mm.
but that's how corrupt it was, that they weren't all told it at the same time.
Yeah, because the people in charge knew how important
Of
and
course.
valuable this sample, so
Yeah.
they know people
Yeah.
are going to want it. So they want people to have guns in case any
Someone
mercs
comes
from
to come and
Russia
get
or
it, yeah.
America turn up
Yeah.
trying
Yeah.
to steal the samples.
Or
Yeah.
espionage.
So here's the thing as well, with having guns with bullets, in other things set in space that we're familiar with, Starcots, for example, has lasers. They don't have projectile weapons. You look at Babylon 5, that's a plasma weapon. Basically, you're looking at energy that can't puncture a hole in a sealed environment where effectively if a bullet went through the wall, you're going to be in a vacuum, killing people. I know they had shutters for emergencies, but why didn't somebody think, wouldn't it be a bad idea to have these bullets in this enclosed environment? Especially when they're on the space shuttle as well. What if a gun goes off by accident?
Again, I go back to corruption.
Or because
They
it's
didn't care-
convenience for the
These
plot.
people in charge didn't care about their well-being.
or because it's an undisclosed future, what if at this future, before the drought, they've created bulletproof glass and bulletproof metal. It doesn't matter what kind of gun you have, it ain't going through
Hang
it,
on.
baby.
They shoot people through their spacesuits.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
spacesuit.
The
isn't
spacesuits are made of
metal.
different material.
Exactly.
Okay.
I didn't.
Sure.
I didn't say
didn't
they were
say
made out of
suits.
Kevlar.
I know.
I just said they were.
She said the walls and glass, not
Just walls and glass,
Come
not
on,
spacesuits.
listen, John.
Okay.
They haven't
All right,
got that
fine.
far with the technology.
I did
the drought
like-
happened.
I did like at the end they tried to use duct tape to seal the bullet hole in the
I was
spacesuit.
wondering about that, if that's
Yeah.
possible. Kevin,
Yeah.
is that possible?
What's this?
He's been shot in the chest or something. So he's got a big, massive, gaping hole in his spacesuit. So the other guy tapes it up with duct tape. Would that work?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Duct tape works and everything. I watched a Mythbusters episode where they put a hole in a boat and
Yeah.
then they got the duct tape and put it on in
Both
the water,
sides.
underside, and it stuck.
Do you
Wow.
remember those adverts for that tape where he just slaps it on loads of things, like stabs a
Yeah.
a barrel of water and they say wham.
That was this weird black tape, wasn't it?
I didn't mention this when we were watching it, but I was thinking at the time, where after the space shuttle crashes and they're making their way on that long hike to the moon base.
They're not bunny hopping.
Yeah.
But I thought that's just like Star Cops. It looks
it's once
silly.
it's gravity. Perhaps they didn't have the ability to put them all on wires because it's like they're doing cross-country walking. It's like, hang on, you're struggling to carry a guy that's wounded, but he should be really light. You could carry him one-handed, perhaps. It's like they just abandoned the physics of a lower gravity. And I did like they had anti-gravity activated when they went into the base. That was good. That covered it. So we didn't have to bother with that. But it's just like weird. They're struggling to trek across the moon when really all the Apollo astronauts bunny hopped
That was
because of the
also
gravity.
noticeable when Captain Han was dangling down from the elevator shaft.
Yeah.
And the elevator was crashing towards him.
It's like there's gravity.
Because
Yeah.
Kevin came in at that point, because I showed him, and he was like, why doesn't he just jump? That
He'd
shouldn't
fall
be as
slowly,
hard,
wouldn't he?
as
Yeah.
hard a stunt for
No.
him. I think they just took artistic license not
Yeah.
to do the
license.
movie.
Yeah, they have. They
Like
just-
Star Cops, because it would have just...
But
Yeah.
they did weightlessness in Star Cops, but they didn't do so much on the moon base in Star Cops, did they? It was,
No. Well, they didn't have
acting
him
like
bunny
gravity.
hopping, because it would look silly.
No.
They were walking differently. If you actually
Yeah,
looked.
they were trying to walk
They were
differently,
doing
but
a
it wasn't.
They were doing a weird walk. They weren't like, oh, we're walking normal.
No.
So I think it gave you enough suspense to kind of. Well, I didn't even pick it up.
Yeah.
I've watched it several times now. Never picked it up once.
Perhaps
So-
the boots had lead weights, like deep sea divers' boots or
Yeah,
something,
maybe.
so they could walk on the moon rather than hop.
Hey, we should all watch this again with Kevin, and then he can just like spoil it all for us by saying, well, that's not realistic and that won't work
Can we
that
do
way.
an alternate commentary for Kevin? We'll do that as a bonus episode. We'll just sit you down for episode 1. That's got most of the sciencey stuff in. Because some of what happens to the space shuttle in flight, you'll cringe at, Kevin. But yeah, the anti-gravity is kind of like Star Trek, really. They go into the airlock and then just like artificial gravity activated announcement, and then that's it. They don't need to bother moving around oddly.
Yeah, I think it helps because I know we talked in Star Cops where I enjoyed some of that acting, and some of that acting was fantastic when they were like in the
Oh, trying to
gravity
move
bit,
around
like where
the
they were like
ship.
On
thingy.
the space
they looked
station
great,
stuff, yeah.
absolutely great. But at the same time, do you think how knackering it would be to have your actors do that for every single scene?
Yeah, I think for
Yeah.
a long series it would get tiring.
I think you have to add that
course.
in just that and just so that your audience doesn't go, this is getting irritating, because I think it would take you out of it a little bit.
No, it was,
taking you away from the drama.
It's good. I can accept the gravity. It's just the bit on the moon's surface that I have a problem with.
No problem here.
Well, I have.
I was actually wondering, the space shuttle, when it was something that came out with, I don't know, it was like
A
a
loose
joint...
bolt or something,
Yeah, loose
wasn't
bolts.
it?
I was wondering if that was sabotage, because there's been so many problems going on with
It
this
could have
mission.
been, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you
And
don't know.
people out to get each other and all kinds of stuff going on, corruption and lies.
Yeah, if they stopped the official mission, then the mercenaries could go in. But then if they got insiders on the job,
Do you think that they put people in?
yeah.
Like, Korea put people in and then was like, actually, we'll sabotage it from the get-go. So
But they wanted a sample.
But did they want the sample? Because if they know what it actually does, like Dr. Hong Kong kept saying, how dangerous is that to actually reach Earth?
Take it to Earth.
Like,
yeah,
if that
it'd
went
be
to
bad,
Earth, that
yeah.
were it. That'd be it. If that, if a disaster happened, you wouldn't be able to quarantine it, you wouldn't be able to stop it,
Yeah.
you wouldn't be able to stop it from wiping out the entire world.
We haven't actually explained what this lunar water does.
Yeah, do we need to? I
Yeah,
mean,
probably.
this episode is rated S for spoilers.
So they were sent to get a sample, and me and John started thinking, I bet it's water, especially because when that director Huang gets killed.
Oh, Mr. Huang, yeah.
Mr. Huang, and on the moon's surface, and when he's dying and gasping, he's saying, water, water, and
Exactly.
they think he is thirsty.
No.
But he bats it away, and he's like, no, the water.
Yeah, and he's
And
like,
then he dies.
"Don't."
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because he knows. He's the only one who actually knows what's going on, but
That's
he dies
right.
first.
Yeah.
That's also because he's the only one who's ever been
Been
to
there.
Balhae
Yeah.
Station.
So me and John thought it was to get water, just normal clean water,
That they've found on the moon.
to bring back
Yeah.
to Earth. But actually, no, this is called lunar water, which was discovered on the moon. And it turns out it's self-replicating water. And if we humans touch it or drink it or
Anything-
consume it, it will replicate so much it will drown us. It will replicate in our lungs to bursting point, and we die.
Hence projectile vomiting of
Yeah.
water.
Yeah,
being like
and
the
the
main
people
symptom.
the people that they find looking like they've drowned.
Yeah,
Even though they're in an empty corridor.
And that's the aspect that reminded Rebecca and I of Doctor Who Waters of Mars, where
Yeah.
it's living water that not quite projectile vomits. It does a little bit, but it kind of turns the victims into zombies. Whereas this is less fantastical, so rather than becoming a zombie, it just kills you by drowning in a dry environment.
Which is quite scary, really, because you're watching people literally drown in front of you and there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
No, they were trying to do, because what was it? They were trying to do, what's that called?
Oh, they were trying to do a tracheectomy.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, yeah.
And it didn't work. The water just splurted out of the...
Well, yeah, because
Yeah.
the lungs are getting filled with water.
Yeah.
So it doesn't... She was thinking that his upper airways were blocked, but
Yeah.
it didn't matter because the lower airways were absolutely
Yeah, the
covered with
lungs were
water.
just
Yeah.
bloating.
He was literally drowning, and so that's why just water kept splurting out.
He really gives it hell, though, doesn't he? I think he's got the longest death scene out of
He
everyone.
does, yeah. Some of them die really fast after getting consumed by the water, and then some die slowly, but not as horrifically. But his was the most horrific.
Yeah. He wasn't having a great time.
Speaking of the water, where do we think it came from? Was it just some underground deposit in the Sea of Tranquillity? And that's why the base was built on the edge of it.
Yeah, because the space station was built in what I thought straight away was sort of like, oh my God, are you joking? They put it on a cliff.
Yeah,
That's
why?
so not asking for trouble, is it? Building a space
Yeah.
station
I
on
mean,
a cliff edge.
Yeah, I mean, I just was like, oh, we'll build it right next to the crater because the crater's got the water in it.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I thought. Just the very bottom, thus the lift.
they
Yeah.
discovered it down
Yeah.
there
Because
somewhere.
it shows you in a... 'cause
Underground.
throughout the programme, you got Dr. Song who's trying to investigate things and on the sly and find out what happened to her sister and stuff and what really happened to the people, because obviously the radiation was alive.
I think we should mention that Dr. Song's sister was a researcher
Yeah.
on the Balhae station
Yes.
5 years prior,
Yeah.
and she was one of the people who died in the accident that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
another reason
That's
why she
why
wanted
she
to
gets-
go,
yeah.
to find out what happened to her sister, because her parents had died previously, and her sister had just cut her off because she kept research as a priority over family, didn't she?
Yeah, so you got Dr. Song who keeps going off on her own to investigate things about what's happened on this station. So when she does investigate, she does find things like data bricks. They call them data bricks. So it does show you flashbacks and lab footage and stuff of them discovering lunar water, testing lunar water, and
Creating the clones and try to make them resistant to the...
yeah. So they're also doing illegal experiments by making human clones to see if they could create genetically modify humans to survive drinking lunar water and not drowning.
I liked it when they tried it with the goldfish.
Yeah, that was good.
Because that one could breathe the water.
Yeah, I'm still wondering about that, because does that mean then the water has oxygen in it? Because that's what I was saying to Mark. Because I was like, it's okay them doing that, but then the water must have oxygen in it, because fish still need oxygen in water to breathe.
Yeah, of
because
course.
if you don't have enough actual diluted oxygen in there, they still drown themselves because they don't breathe water. What they do is they filter the water and they
Yes.
take the oxygen from the
The-
water.
With the recordings and logs and things, they discover one of these scientists found this water. They were like, oh, there's water on the moon. And I think it was in the trench or crater or whatever it was. I don't think they went into great detail. It was just kind of,
No,
oh, we
they
found water on the moon. Cool.
Yeah, I think it's very much you got a lot of assumptions here, and they were pretty much like, we've told you, they're going for water. That's all you need to know, guys.
Yeah.
That was very much the premise on that
Because
point.
all the other countries had given up on the moon apart from Korea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who discovered the water, and they were like,
so they kept their base, yeah.
everyone else is gone now, but we're still here, and there's water here. Cool. Keep this to ourselves.
You know, I did wonder at first if Luna 73 was a clone of her sister.
I wondered that.
Or only just because she had a sister smock and name badge, but that was just coincidence.
did think that as well. I thought it might have been her own DNA she's cloned.
Yeah.
So she's the chief researcher. It's her decision. We're going to do some human experiments on clones, but no one can say no because it's my clone.
Yeah,
Now-
but then she let 72 of them die, so
I mean,
maybe
I
not.
know what you're saying, but then I read. Now, this is just fan stuff because I was doing some research for some bits and pieces.
Okay.
And what
Good.
I read was just fan theory.
Okay.
And there's a on one of the websites, I couldn't even tell you which one it was, but on one of the websites there was a fan theory that actually Luna is a clone of director Choi's daughter.
Oh, because there's a
And that's
picture of
why-
her
and
with a
that's why
child,
she's
isn't there?
so interested in it all because she wants her back.
That's why they showed that photo, because I wondered what was going to come.
Yeah.
Because,
it was a
it shows
kid- was it
Dr.
the
Choi
same
looking
actor?
at a photo of a daughter, and it was kind of like, it felt
Yeah.
like there was meant to be a meaning
Yeah.
to that.
Because if cloning's illegal.
That's why she's so hell bent on getting the
Yeah.
the sample of Luna back.
But wouldn't you know that assume that Luna was dead? Oh no, because she knew she could survive the water, didn't she?
Well, she didn't necessarily know, but she might. But there were enough clones there
Yeah.
that it might be just a case of go get this specific sample, which she's going to be a clone of something. You know what I mean?
But what did it change her to? Because her eyelids went sideways, like,
And she had gills.
and she had gills, and she could move around with superhuman speed and strength.
And walk around without a spacesuit on.
Yes.
Yeah,
so
which
that's
was a bit
moon
what?
native. So was there life forms on the moon that lived, or the water lived as a kind of symbiote with these life
I wondered
forms?
that. I always wondered if it was the fact they found maybe some like bacteria or virus. Well,
They said it was
bacteria
like a
in-
virus, didn't
They did
they?
say it's like a virus, and I understand what they were trying to say
Yes.
there. But I felt like they found like a bacteria in the water,
It's some.
and then they
yeah.
were like, "Well, if that survives."
Is the water natural to the moon, or did an intelligence put it there?
I personally think it's natural.
I think because we've not given any clues that there's extraterrestrials involved, we have to assume at this point it's natural. But if it does get a second season, and there seems to be rumours,
It's been a while.
A lot of people have been talking about it, but normally Netflix have.
They would have
And-
said if it was
and-
cancelled, wouldn't
And
they? By now.
nah, they don't always
But-
say if it's cancelled.
well, how can it be cancelled if it was a one-shot show? Because people said that about Obi-Wan Kenobi. Oh, it's cancelled. It's like, no, it was only ever meant to be one season.
But this ends with enough clues to carry on the story.
It does, but at the same time, because it was adapted from a short film, I just wondered if it was
meant to end that
meant to
way.
end that way.
Just
and it's
an
meant to
open
be an
ending.
ambiguous ending
Yeah.
so that you all kind of have these
Yeah.
questions. Because sometimes some
Yeah.
things do end like that. They give
Yes.
you things to actually go away and think about.
I think that's it as well. So you've got an ambiguous end, and every viewer can make that ending exactly how they want it to be in their head.
Yeah.
So everyone's satisfied by the end.
Yeah.
So I want to pose a question to you all, okay? So if you were there, you were part of that team, okay? I'm going to assume you're one of the surviving members. In one hand, you've got this sample of this lunar water. In the other hand, you're holding Luna's hand. So you have, potentially the cure for drought on Earth.
Yeah.
And the next big push in evolutionary development. People could colonize other planets if
Yeah.
you synthesized whatever this gene is.
Yeah.
But you've got the moral debate. So what would you do? Are you going to hand her over for the benefit of the many, but to a life of, absolute horrible experimentation because it's going to be beneficial to the masses? Or are you going to save that one innocent person's life?
Yeah, it's a major ethical question, really. It sounds like one of those we used to do at college, medical ethical case studies. Yeah, I mean, is it right for them to do this, to do these experiments? And they are illegal experiments, cloning people and then subjecting them to things that kill them.
Yeah, so she's not a legal person, is she, Luna? Or any of the other clones? Because there's others lined up waiting to be revived.
Yeah.
She's just the one that worked. In fact, did they change her DNA to accept the water, or did the water change her just through some random quirk? Because if the clones are the same person, then she'd have the same DNA as the others.
But I'd assume the clones would each have differences, otherwise what's the point?
Oh, maybe. Well,
'Cause if
just because they knew it killed them, so they'd just try again and again and again until...
Yeah,
I
but
thought they'd
isn't
be-
that the sign of madness, though? That if you
Yeah.
you keep doing the exact same thing, expecting
Yeah.
a different result.
Each clone would
But-
have a difference in their DNA to see if they
Maybe.
could get that resistance.
So when they're all vac packed in these bags, are they all blanks exactly the same that they then alter? Or are they altering the water?
I didn't think they could change the water, so they'll try and make humans resistant, because obviously if they let it go on Earth, it'd kill everybody, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I wonder as well if it was that they found this replicating water, and actually the water was never replicating in the first place. It's just a byproduct of the cloning that they were doing at the space station because they were doing something else, and it's just their waste that's got into the moon's water, and mutations happen that way.
So they've kind of killed themselves, sealed their own fate.
So the water's effectively mutated from the illegal experiments that kept the moon base open for, basically.
Yeah.
And it just happened to be beneficial, potentially.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. But to answer your question, I find it really difficult because I think normally I'm on the side of being the person that goes, do you know what? If you can save the many, that's the way you'd go. My moral compass goes that way.
So you'd be slicing up poor Luna, would you?
Normally, I would. But at the same time, it's that ethical thing of she doesn't know what life is and what is normal life for her. She's spent 5 years
On her own.
on her own. Like, we don't know her psychological, what's it done to her being on her own all this time, not interacting with people, and, would she react well with multiple people, social circumstances, things like that? Would it be in her best interest to have a nice life that way, that we class as a nice life?
Yeah.
Because we're just assuming that's what a nice life is. But I would destroy the lunar water samples purely because it would be stupid to take it down to Earth, regardless of how great it is of a thing. Because if you took that to Earth and it got out, you've just made the entire world.
Mm-hmm.
In Doctor Who, I think the Doctor would disagree with you, Dan. He'd take the opposing position because Series 2 of New Who, the episode New Earth, centres around this moral dilemma where you've got these cat nuns running a hospital, and it turns out they've got a whole warehouse full of clones, and they're subjecting them to every disease known, using that to find cures, and it was deemed as immoral. Even though these clones didn't have a life.
I definitely say it's immoral. I never said it wasn't. That's why I'm saying, generally speaking, a lot of the time I'm on the fence of saving the greater. But in this instance, I said I would struggle because of the moral implications of, a person.
Yes.
I never said wholeheartedly, oh yeah, fuck Luna.
I was just using it as an example of this being in another sci-fi.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you would probably need more info as well. Like, how long is this water that's on Earth going to last, Is it enough to see everyone's lives through and then humanity just ends? Or is it going to be a case of in 10 years' time there's no water and there's billions of people about to die of horrible conditions? That's kind of where I would look at it from. So normally, again, and I would probably agree with you, Dani, I would normally go for the majority. But I think there's something about the fact that, as a clone, she has effectively died 72 times previously for this cause, and she knows nothing about anything. She's just this innocent little girl. I don't think I could do it.
Oh, no, I agree. I don't think I could do it. I don't understand why they've done what they've done. That's like testing on animals, isn't it? I mean, a lot of people don't like testing on animals. I'm currently looking at my own cat and I'm thinking I could not test anything on that beautiful little thing. But at the same time, testing on animals like medicine before it goes to humans to make sure that it's safe, it's a hard one to do, and things are created that way, and sometimes somebody has to make that decision for things to happen in life. And like I say, I'm glad I'm not that person who has to make those moral decisions.
To put into context of how serious the situation is on Earth, one of the characters does mention a statistic at one point that 1 in 10 children born after the Great Drought dies before they reach the age of 5.
Yeah.
We just watched Black Knight, which is about air pollution, and again, a corrupt corporation that has oxygen and all that kind of stuff. So it's got that same kind of thing. So I just wonder if there's a lot
Sell
of
oxygen.
I mean, we watch a lot of Korean stuff, and a lot of Korean stuff's about corruption.
The only other thing that I've really watched from Korea was The Host, which is a film about this weird mutated lizardy thing that comes out of the sewers because it's been mutated by chemicals from an American army base. So it's another thing with water from Korea.
Yeah.
I know there's other things, but that's the only one that I've watched.
I've seen Korean horror films, but they're not water-centric.
Yeah. Black Knight wasn't water-centric, it was air pollution.
I put that on my watch list the other day.
Yeah, we watched
really
it.
good.
It is good.
Yeah.
Bit short.
Yeah, but it
We're not
gives you
talking about that.
Yeah, it gives you the ending though. Like you get a satisfying conclusion to the story. It's not like a wait for season 2 kind of deal.
Yeah.
No, there's quite a bit about the story because we're watching it thinking, right, mystery, fake radiation, mystery object to retrieve, mystery sample. Where is this going to go for 8 episodes? That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Are we going to get the tension to last. I felt the pacing was all right, but I just wonder, and we weren't able to find this, is the original short film, how much did they expand? Was it just the base and the mystery, and the whole cloning thing was added later?
Yeah.
I've got a synopsis here because the short film was called The Sea of Tranquillity. It came out in 2014. It runs for 37 minutes and it's by the same director. It's set in I'll read out the synopsis.
Okay.
It's the year 2075. Jung-won, a pathologist, has a recurring nightmare about her sister's death. In order to cease the nightmares, she visits the Sea of Tranquillity. There she undergoes a strange experience that causes the death of her sister.
Ooh. So it's an interesting expansion of the core concept of the sisters and the moon.
Yeah, so it sounds like they started off with the idea of the sisters.
Yeah, it was the same director, but this time they got a different writer in to help.
To help expand it.
So perhaps they had an idea and they said to this writer, we need to kind of make it a bit more flow a bit better in a series.
Yeah.
Or you didn't have experience, and so they brought...
Well, it was an indie film, and it is I have not been able to track it down, and people on Reddit are all asking each other, how can you find this? Or do you know where this is? And people say, you just can't find it.
Netflix asked them to remove it from
everywhere. I think that's literally what it is. When you go on now, because it is on YouTube, but it literally says it's been banned in your country for copyright reasons, and I think Netflix have done that.
But it'd be nice to watch the original.
It would be nice. I wonder if you could watch it on a VPN. Who knows?
I wonder if they ever released it on DVD or disc or whatever, they might put that as a bonus feature.
Yeah,
because they sometimes do that with feature films, don't they?
They don't release things on DVD anymore. Like
occasionally,
they Netflix don't. They did the Stranger Things for a couple of series,
seasons,
and then that's it. So
they want you to subscribe.
That's it. The way the world's changed, unfortunately, on that front.
It's all about streaming, baby.
Yeah, so interestingly, that gives a specific year, because in the Silent Sea, they never say when it's set. At least
it's in the near future.
Yeah. The short film set in 2075.
Yeah, I like the vagueness of the series, because it doesn't give you a year, doesn't date it in that regard, because then you're just left to decide how near future it is. Is it in the next 10, 15, 20 years?
I put this in the same camp as shows like Star Cops and Space Above and Beyond, in that it's very near future. It feels more real close to us in terms of technology, just a little bit further on.
That thing of it was realistic, even if it doesn't exist.
Yeah, just a bit better, a bit more roomy on the shuttles, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and artificial gravity on the moon.
Yeah, I think the only thing that's really super sci-fi, really, like over what time period we have now, is obviously the base, and at one point they use a laser to cauterize a wound,
and the cloning,
and obviously in the cloning
they use lasers now to cauterize wounds.
What?
Diathermy.
Does it look the same as that one?
No, it doesn't look the same as that one, but I'm just saying they do use it already.
But you look at the shuttle's kind of similar to what we have now. They still have cars. There's nothing super fancy in the apartment. When you get a quick glimpse of her apartment, she's still using a lamp.
But they did have AI psychotherapy or counselling.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Which seemed really grim and depressing, to be honest, because they kept... Because like they do in real life, they have therapists, counsellors talking to the astronauts before they're going up to space, and they were doing this with Dr. Song over the weeks, and it was just really depressing, just hearing it, this computer asking her the same questions over and over, and her giving the same answer over and over in a monotone, and it was just very...
That's how she is, though.
Yeah, she is.
I think, that's what she was like.
Yeah.
Before going up to the space station.
She fits into the trope of the emotionless woman, which you do get in quite a lot of anime.
Yeah, you said that in the when we watched it.
It's like a female trope in reaction to the idea of the hysterical, emotional female. Instead, it's a woman who's very rational, very logical, matter-of-fact in her way of speaking. So you get characters like Kiwi in Cyberpunk Edge Runners, there's Vanilla in Nicopara.
I mean, one of the things she made me absolutely... I loved her for so much is early on that in a scene where I think the lieutenant starts whittering on about somebody, and then she was just like, politely, I don't care. And she just walked off, and he was like, rude. I was just like, nah. I was like, slay queen. Like, you tell him, you don't give a shit. Walk away. I loved it.
I recognised Bae Doona from somewhere, who played Dr. Song, and I looked it up later, and she was in Sense8, the Netflix series from the Wachowskis and J. Michael Straczynski, playing a Korean businesswoman.
It's funny because I've got Sense8 on my watch list.
She was
I've never watched it.
She was more emotional in that. Her brother was basically ruining the company, and her dad kind of emotionally blackmailed her into taking the fall for this company fraud to save the family. So she does that cliched thing of putting the family first before her own life.
I think it's more different from Western stuff is, in terms of when me and Kevin are listening back to the reactions, Kevin says, this is a very quiet show. Is there something wrong with this? And I noticed this in watching other Korean stuff. Very quiet with occasional dialogue and lots of extended, silences. It's not in your face action like a lot of Western stuff is.
Yeah, it's a bit more realistic to what life's actually like. There are going to be moments where it is just quiet.
There wasn't much incidental music either.
No, there wasn't. But then again, there's some of the things we've watched, depending on how they've been in Korean, there've been lots of music. And then other things have had nothing.
Yeah, I think this is very much just kind of an atmospheric thing. I think it's in space, you're meant to feel isolated, the cut off. I think that's kind of why it's emphasised more on the sound effects of the space station and the people rather than like the musical scores.
Like them when you're hearing the beeping and the breathing when they're racing to get into the space station because they've got like 1% oxygen left.
Yeah.
And all you can hear is heavy breathing and the signals on the arms.
Oh, you're constantly saying...
Beeping, saying, you need to reconnect to oxygen. It's like, that's not going to make you panic more, is it?
Exactly, yeah.
No.
And that for me is why I think actually they've done quite a lot of the same stuff that Western stuff does. So there was a lot of those tropes of, deadlines being imminent. So 1% oxygen, get in. Why 1%? Why couldn't it have been 5 or 6? Why couldn't they have had a merry walk? The space shuttle being right on the edge of the cliff.
Yes.
Yeah.
There is a lot of, that last minute jump out of the elevator way.
Yeah.
I think they've used a lot of the same tropes.
So when I was doing a little bit of research, and I had a look on the IMDb, and on the fun trivia facts, it says it is the first sci-fi set in space from a South Korean production. I then tried looking into it more, and I found an article that was saying that the first space sci-fi Korean film was released the same year. So it's just going back to, when I asked about how does a Korean way look, and we're talking about the cliches and tropes of Western sci-fi. Is it because Korea aren't known for doing sci-fi, and so they're trying to make their own version of it and make their way into the sci-fi world, and rather than just going full on out, they've been influenced by the Western world of sci-fi. So that's why it feels like it's just not a rip-off, but very homage to
exactly. It's got these recognisable elements of the Alien films or the X-Files or other things. It didn't feel derivative. It was still entertaining. Still left me guessing at what's going to happen next. It's like, oh, a clone now, or water that can replicate itself. It's like, what's the implication for this now? What's going to happen? Who are the traitors? Who's going to survive? It kept me interested. What about you, Rebecca?
How much sci-fi does Korea make?
So we have watched quite a few sci-fi things now.
Yeah.
But I would say this is the first space sci-fi.
Yeah, it is the first, really full-blown...
So this is South Korea venturing into what we call space opera.
That's what I'm trying to get across, yeah, because that's what it seems to be.
But what about sci-fi in general? How much sci-fi have they done?
So, we've watched quite a few things that are sci-fi, but it's things like I was saying, there's Black Knight that's just come out recently. That's on our Earth.
Yeah, it is, So it is Korea.
There's a really big one that's that Sisyphus. We never finished watching that one, but that was about time travel. I'll be honest, I got confused with, which is why I think I stopped paying attention to what happened. But they do a lot of science fiction.
Yeah, it's always dystopian, isn't it? It's more dystopian. So it's
like Squid Game.
Yeah, sci-fi elements, but in a believable world.
So it's like maybe Korea wants it to be more believable.
I feel like it's more they've always got a message. It's not always just entertainment. But I do think with Korea, when you come away watching things, you always feel like there's been a message, it's asking a question, it's making you think.
Well, that's science fiction's purpose.
I think sometimes, and this is my personal view, and you can always tell me I'm wrong, but I feel like the Western world with sci-fi is kind of, I think there's a lot of things that are just there for you, sit down, watch, entertainment.
Yeah,
you don't use your brain.
Yes.
switch off.
You're
kind of
right.
thing.
The Michael Bay of
Yes.
film.
Yeah, yeah.
It blows up, yes.
Whereas I feel like Korea,
It's more thoughtful.
yeah, and I don't know if that's just because they're more thoughtful in the way that they produce things, because it's something that they do as a culture. Because everything we've watched has it's got morals, it's got ethics, it's got questions.
It's all like kind of relevant topics to today as well. You've got like the statute of limitation, which is obviously it's been abolished now, but that was Korea's kind of act that you could only be held accountable for so many years after a crime, and then otherwise it would just be absolved.
But then the one we just watched recently, which I know Will Hadcroft has mentioned in person to us, was Signal. We've just watched Signal. Again, that's a sci-fi, but it's a crime drama sci-fi, and I know that sounds Star Cops-esque, but it's not. So essentially, it's time travel again.
Yeah.
You find a character that's from now, and he gets a walkie-talkie, radio, and he ends up talking to somebody from from the 90s, and he helps him solve crimes from the 90s, but they're always connected because of something that happened in his family. But it's a really great show, but that's sci-fi, but it's set in 2016.
No, that's a bit like the film Frequency, where the fireman speaks to his dad in the past who's a firefighter, and they change the events of fires in the past.
Oh, that's cool.
That's literally,
Yeah.
the
Quaid,
story.
That is literally the story.
And
Signal.
they made a
Yes.
TV series with the concept as well, but it was cops instead of firefighters.
Yeah.
Just looking at the wider cultural landscape of TV, in the 80s, 70s, 80s, I guess even early 90s, we only saw limited amount of US television. So it was always the best of the best. We didn't see the dross from America.
So we got Dynasty in Dallas.
American TV had this reputation as being really, really, oh my God, really good. But actually it's because we weren't seeing the rubbish. Could this be happening with Korea? Because are we just getting the best of Korean drama, and they're not showing us any of the meh shows, their average shows, their soaps?
Yeah, we're not getting Korean neighbours.
I mean, I've watched some stuff separate from that, because I've watched some of their more poppy things, I will say. Mm-hmm. More of their rom-com-y type stuff. And some of that is a bit pants. But I've enjoyed it, and it's just like how I've enjoyed some of the American stuff that's a bit pants, and a bit of the British stuff that's a bit pants. So I have seen some of the Korean stuff that isn't, the best quality. It might be that they are just the best of the best we're seeing, and we're not seeing the crap.
It's good for seeing more
producing
stuff coming from Korea, all these dramas that are on Netflix, because I remember when I was a teenager, all that we could really get hold of from places like Korea and Hong Kong and Thailand and so on, it was all horror films, pretty much, or martial arts stuff.
Yeah.
Stuff that we knew would sell.
You didn't see normal dramas.
Netflix just can't get enough of Korean stuff. They're investing money in Korea. They've set up a studio.
I think the whole wave of music probably helped with all your K-pop with like BTS and things. I think BTS really, really pushed Korea into the Western world.
Gangnam Style.
And Gangnam Style, there is Gangnam Style, you know what I mean? Which is really interesting when we're watching things in Korea where they'll be like, we're in the province of Gangnam, and it's just like, I always giggle whenever I see that. I know I shouldn't, but I do.
Yeah, I think anime has kind of paved the way a lot as well for accepting other cultures' kind of media sources, which kind of got the idea around, there's more than just, British, US TV.
And cartoons aren't just for children.
Yeah, and cartoons aren't just for children. There's topics that can be for an adult as well. Let's have an explore of what other cultures' media's like. And I think that's what Netflix is doing.
In this day and age, it is nice that you can just go on and go, do you know what? Today I fancy something that I won't see every day.
Yeah. That's what Netflix are hoping for.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the main issue at the minute is that we don't have enough sources of it. America's entire television now is pretty much just part of ours, or we're part of theirs. But these other countries still haven't really been brought into the fold. You can't just turn the channel over to, Korean national television or something like that.
That's true. And going back to saying, like in the 90s, I remember growing up, there was quite a few Australian things that I watched. I don't see Australian things anymore.
There was a lot of Australian stuff, back in the 80s and early 90s.
Yeah, and like you say, it seems to be very American-based. So I'm kind of glad that everyone's got on this Squid Game Korea hype train, because we're getting to see other people and other cultures, Anything else to say, guys?
Yeah, Korean names being the opposite way around.
Surname first, isn't it? But
Yeah, it was the same in Japan. and-
Family name and then,
Yeah, it's surname first, then first name.
So Harry Kim in Star Trek Voyager, should he have been called Kim Harry?
Yeah.
yeah.
But it's the same with the Bajoran characters.
Yeah, same.
Because Royal Laverne used to get pissed off about it.
Or Kira Nerys.
My question is, do you think The Silent Sea did something different than Western sci-fi programs have done?
I think the way the sisters bonded was different to how a Western show would do it. They seem to be more family honour bonded than we in the West.
Yeah.
I mean, the captain putting his life on the line for this mission to help his daughter would happen in any drama, wherever it's from.
I think they've used a lot of the same tropes that Western uses. And I think the only difference for me that I see between them is, and it's not that Western doesn't focus on it, but I think in a lot of Asian film you see more of, and it's that it's more family focused. So a lot of everyone's goals and motives were strictly family. It wasn't anything else.
Yeah.
So the captain was family, Song was family.
Two brothers in the crew.
Yes,
Brothers,
Chan
family,
and,
yeah.
what was it Gong? Chief Gong?
Yeah, they were all doing it for different reasons and different levels, but for ultimately their family.
From my personal view, I don't think the sisters are different. They might not have got along growing up, kind of thing, and they have definitely gone their separate paths. But Dr. Song Jian, she is absolutely devastated when the news her sisters died.
Yeah.
All she gives a shit about is finding out what actually happened to her sister.
In the flashbacks, her sister was saying, even in the log recording, saying, I'm doing this for you. I want you to see a sea again, an ocean again.
Yeah, it was a family thing, and I get it. Like, doing it for your, like you said, the parents have died.
Yeah.
It's doing it for the next closest thing to you. As a bond me and Rebecca have, we did not grow up liking each other, and I'll say that. We did not. We've probably said this before. And there are times now where we will argue and I want to fucking slap her silly. But that doesn't stop her being my sister, and I love her, and I would do anything in the world for her. Do you know what I mean? That is just who I am.
Yeah.
Yes, she pisses me off, but what family doesn't? What family doesn't piss you off? That's why the family. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You sound
No, I
like
think-
Vin Diesel
Yeah.
from Fast.
Yeah,
Well,
you do.
I'll have that. I like Diesel.
The only ones that really stand out in that, of the people that would know the motives for, are the two that are doing some spy work.
Yeah.
Because it never really explains why they're doing it. You would assume money, but you never know.
No, you don't ever know.
Because Ryu said that we don't deserve to live. Humanity doesn't deserve this lunar
Yeah.
water.
Well, he was...
And yet he's stealing it to give to the
Well,
corporation.
he was there when the people were locked in the space station, when the
Yeah,
accident happened.
And when he was like shooting
watching-
them to,
yeah,
to put them in.
It's a-
So his morality's changed from what he's
because
seen.
of what he's seen.
Yeah.
He was very affected by that, because
Yeah.
there's this scene where it shows what happens where the water's got out, it's everyone's screaming and running, and there's alarms blaring, and then all these doors come crashing down, locking them all in, and they're all like screaming, help, let us out, and the soldiers which he's in are just shooting at them.
Yeah.
There's a question I want to ask about Captain Han and his motivations. We're all saying what his motivations make sense, and I do agree they make sense. He's going up there to get better water for his daughter. Mm-hmm. So why does he sacrifice himself at the end when he knows he's got a daughter at home?
Because his water card or ration will go to her.
But will it? How would he know that?
He's trusting that the space agency will honour their part of the deal.
I'm not a parent, but we're given this thing of he's a single father kind of thing.
Yes.
I just feel that, and I don't know if this is different for Korean and a Western thing, but the biggest trope going is that they'd want to get back to their child. Do you know what I mean?
But there's also
Regardless.
another element which is key to East Asian psychology: collectivism. And Captain Han was a leader, and he would put everyone else before him in terms of survival. It's like when he was at that lift shaft, and like after the lift incident, his thing was beeping saying you've got no oxygen left, and the engineer Chief Gong is shouting, come on, get back up, you're going to die, and he's just like carrying on fixing the machinery because he puts the mission and the rest of his team before himself, and that's what it was. He was basically fulfilling that captain role.
I mean, I get it, but I don't get it at the same time.
When Captain Han, when the airlock won't open, he goes outside or he goes back into the base to open it. He's in a sealed spacesuit. Isn't he going to be safe from the water in a sealed spacesuit?
No, I knew that bit.
And
'cause
they're
I
going,
thought to
oh, he's
myself,
going to die. Well, he's in a sealed spacesuit. It won't go through.
But it was the pressure.
It was the
I
pressure.
suppose, but the pressure blows him out anyway.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
it smacks him around and...
Yeah.
But that's the thing, is he dead? Is he alive? We don't know.
Yeah, that's the ambiguous moment when
Yeah.
it refers to the survivors, purposefully doesn't say
Yes.
Yeah, cause
either way.
Yeah, because it's like how many survivors there is, and it was like, oh,
Yeah.
still counting, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So he's Schrodinger's Captain Han.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, obviously he hasn't had any water in there. I think that tear that you see is a genuine tear
Yes.
because the mission's been successful.
That's what I thought.
Um,
Well, also because Luna's in front of him holding his daughter's badge, because his daughter gives him
yeah.
a little badge for when he's going away on his mission. Luna nabs it.
Yes.
She
there's a little
doesn't necessarily
smiley.
Well, she
nab
was going
it.
to nab it, but then he let her have it.
Yeah, he let her have it because
Yeah.
they saw the humanity in her and
Yeah.
reminded her of his daughter. So he was like, "Yeah, go on, you can have it."
do you think that was symbolic? So when the daughter gives him that, she says that that'll protect him, she'll come and save him.
Yeah.
And Luna comes with that badge at the moment pretty much where he's doomed.
Yeah,
Or, has she grabbed him out of that? Because she doesn't need that spacesuit. Has she pulled him out of that complex? Or has she grabbed him when he's flying through the air with, getting vaulted out by the ice?
He got thrown out by the water,
Yeah.
but I don't think anything stopped his fall.
we never actually see that.
No.
part,
You don't see.
though.
You see him propped up miles
Yeah,
away
we
from
don't.
them.
And all
Yeah,
you
could you have
see
helped him?
is
Yeah.
all you see is Luna going up to him,
Yeah.
giving him back.
We don't actually see him
the
fly
badge.
out.
Camera. Yeah.
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 We're just left to presume the water pressure, because the panel was broken on their side. It was something to do with like a pressure airlock system.
he had to
He had to go
depressurise.
around
Yeah,
the other
yeah.
side to decompress the side the women were on, so they could get out.
So he's my boy. I think he's alive.
I like him.
I think
I'm having
that,
him alive as well.
I think that it's mirroring. So Luna being that young girl that's the same as his daughter. I think that's the mirroring kind of situation where he's seen effectively that, the daughter was right. He has been saved. It was her. This woman's found him. And, whether his suit's knackered or not, the spaceship's coming down. He probably need to be resuscitated.
Yes.
Dr. Song's smart enough to know now that she can't be killed by this water, probably because she's been bitten by Luna.
Yeah, because she's already
Yeah.
experienced it because she quarantined herself off, but then she survived it.
Yeah, her DNA
Yeah.
was changed by being bitten.
Yeah.
So perhaps they only have to give people a sample of her DNA,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a
an
vaccine or
injection or
something.
something. Yeah,
Exactly.
so they can
Synthesise.
vaccine
Yeah.
people.
Is interesting though, because does it mean that obviously you wouldn't ever know, but could Dr. Song breathe in that atmosphere now, do you reckon? Or has she picked up any other things? Is she stronger now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So do we all think that Captain Han would come back in a second series then?
With his gold card, absolutely.
And if there was a second series, what do we expect? What way to get from it? Because obviously,
Go to the space station in orbit, so you
Yeah,
don't risk taking the water.
Song's taking Luna to the space station, isn't she?
yeah, but like, where does it go? Do you know what I mean? What happens
Yeah.
to the characters? That's what I'm asking. What do you think? What might happen to the characters?
I think
what
Song's-
speculation is what I'm asking.
I think Song's bonded most with Luna, so she's probably going to become like a surrogate mother for her almost.
Yeah, which reinforces the idea that she could be technically her niece if she was cloned or close to her sister.
I still think she's director
I don't
choice.
Yeah, I don't think that's necessarily just because
Yeah.
she's bonding.
But I think that she's replaced her sister.
She's bonded with her faster because she recognised her from the pictures. I think that's the only reason why
Yeah.
she was the accepted one, because she's been hiding out in her sister's thing, seeing all the pictures of Dr. Song.
Yeah.
And so I think that's where she's kind of gone. When she's actually seen her, she probably thought, oh, I recognise this face.
Yes.
And that's why she's...
It's also about and this sounds awful, but like the animal handling concept of it. So, you very early in episode 1 or 2, it's talking about that critical distance
Yeah.
to keep. And, all the way through every interaction she had with Luna, she's always done that. She's kept critical distance. She's, showed no level of kind of threat at all. And I
Yeah.
think ultimately, if you were a person on your own in space, and you weren't always on your own, so there was a time that you had people around you, you would probably long for company again. You wouldn't trust anything that's coming, and obviously the initial view of these people are dangerous.
Yeah.
But as she learns more, she accepts more, so she accepts the captain next, I think she would climatise back to a normal life.
Yeah.
In terms of the what happens next season 2 aspect for me, I think it would probably walk that fine line of morality. So Dr. Song is not the type of person that would just give up on humanity, I don't think. But I don't think she would sacrifice Luna either, so I could see some sort of strange bond between them where she's still experimenting, but maybe with her bloods, so she's taking regular bloods.
Yeah.
And it's a bit more consent.
And sort of saying, these are the rules if you want the water. I want total autonomy on the space station.
Yeah.
But I imagine there'll be governments vying for getting Luna back down, and there'll be probably political stuff going on.
Yeah, and I think that's why she's obviously went for the international station, isn't she?
Yeah.
Because she couldn't trust any one government, even her own.
No, and it's not safe to take the water to Earth yet.
Yeah, exactly. Even if they did, let's say, synthesize it so humans could be absolutely fine, you're talking about plants, you're talking about every single animal.
Yeah.
Every single one of them, you could not control that substance. There is bound to be a drop spilt somewhere and an ant gets it, or, a fungus somewhere, and then that's it, it's over.
Yeah, just keep going.
In fact, speaking of animals, she's with that tiger at the beginning, isn't she?
Yeah.
Is that the last tiger?
Or is it just Korea's last tiger?
Is it a clone?
I don't know, there's no context given for that.
It's just showing that she's good with animals or experimental subjects or whatever, isn't it?
Yeah. It
showing
is very
empathy
strange
with animals again.
Yeah, very strange to see though, isn't it?
Especially when you then hear that she was an astrobiologist, and then now all of a sudden she's working with animal. It was very much like
didn't she swap because of what happened to her sister?
Yeah, she did, but
she wanted to do space anymore.
But at the same time, it's a completely different field.
She just wanted nothing to do with space.
So you've watched the entire show now.
Yep.
You've seen, effectively, it's an isolated thing. You're not waiting for season 2. The story's had a conclusion. Were you satisfied with the end?
I felt, in regard to Luna, not quite satisfied, because I felt a bit confused when she's not wearing a spacesuit, and I'm like, wait, what? So she can also breathe in space and not be affected by pressures?
And not be affected at all by the colossal temperature change.
Yeah, exactly, and I was just a bit thrown because it was just sudden, and then it was like, oh, credits,
because
okay.
Whatever's in the water that's native to the moon has adapted her to life on there, but it's not really clear enough or explained, is it?
Which is why she can survive the water, because she doesn't need to breathe.
Her eyes are different as well, aren't they? With the eyelids,
so maybe she's
adapted to a vacuum.
But why would she have adapted to a vacuum when she was always in the base anyway?
Is it because of the water needing to be under higher levels of pressure or something like that?
No idea. We'll never know.
Unless
we might.
Unless they do a season 2.
But if they don't do a season 2, we'll never know.
No, time to write that fanfic.
So, a final question. Would you and Mark call yourself fans of the Silent Sea? Or is it just something you happened to stumble across and you quite liked?
I think I did stumble across it initially, but I think that's kind of the same as I would stumble across any show. After watching it, though, I would definitely say I was a fan, and I would happily watch a season 2 if they were going to expand on it.
Yeah.
My answer's the same, actually. I am a fan. We've watched a few things, and like I said, there was that Sisyphus, couldn't finish it, and I don't think I ever will go back to finishing that, personally. I just didn't get into that. But there have been other things where we've watched it, and we have literally, when Netflix says, it's official, season 2 is coming, we've literally gone, oh my god, season 2 is coming. And we have got so excited. And I think if Silent Sea, if that came up, and one of us saw it, I think the other one would literally text the other one going, oh my god, have you seen Silent Sea season 2 is coming? I am definitely a fan.
Yeah. So if, let's say, they followed it up with a book, because sometimes that happens.
Oh, I'd read it.
You'd read it.
I'd read it.
I would have Dani read it to me.
Oh.
Mark no like reading.
No, he doesn't. No, you don't like reading. But yes, I would say I'm a fan. Yes, Rebecca, I would say I'm a fan.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So on that note, I think it's time to wrap this up. We have been waffling on for long enough. So in conclusion, Rebecca, what did you think of The Silent Sea?
I liked it. It was good. It had good tension in it and mystery, and it kept you going along because you wanted to see how it was going to conclude. And it had that trope of one by one people being bumped off, which is a bit of an Agatha Christie trope. I like that trope.
I do like that trope. And how many Rebeccas out of 5 would you going to give it?
I'll give it 4.
Oh, 4. That's a good one. Good 4. And John, what did you think of The Silent Sea?
I liked it, but I didn't love it. But I would consider rewatching it one day, just to answer some of the questions that we've been thinking about here.
Yeah.
Like changes to Luna, what the water does, and things like that. but I'm not going to be like Rebecca. I'd give it 3 out of 5 Johns.
3 out of 5 does. I think that's fair enough. I've given some worse reviews for the things that you've made me watch that you've enjoyed. So I mean,
Rollerball.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard them.
I think they are reasonable. And Mark, how many marks out of 5 would you give Silent Sea?
Oh, like 6.
Yeah. I've been told off. I'm not allowed to go above 5.
No, it would be a 5.
Yeah.
And how many Danny's?
4.5. I'm not full on 5, but 4.5.
Whoa, is that your high score?
Yeah,
Was
you
it
gave Star Cops 5
didn't
and you gave Stone Tape 5.
Oh yeah, I gave Stone Tape 5.
Excuse me, what is wrong with Silent Sea?
Nothing's wrong with Silent Sea.
There's nothing wrong with it.
The half a point off is because there isn't a series 2.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
And because we can't see the short movie it's based on.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're losing points for that.
Exactly.
So Mark, did you enjoy your first podcast experience?
I did. It was good. I think everyone had some interesting opinions, and I think I find that when I watched this, I had answered all my own questions, but now I've got more questions from listening to yous.
Yeah.
That happens to me every panel, and every panel I come away, and probably sometimes it happens in the panel where I've made my mind up, and then these guys start asking me questions, start making me think about something I hadn't thought about, and then I'm like, oh no, now you're making me rethink the show.
You changed your score with
Dalek Invasion Earth.
didn't
Yeah.
You actually changed it thinking, oh, actually, I appreciate it more now
Yeah,
after talking about it.
sometimes you do need to have that.
Yeah.
Yeah, is it a thing? Do we need to start talking more with people? You know, that water cooler moment. You know, they're not existing anymore. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing?
So has doing this podcast made you more of a sci-fi fan, or just more appreciative?
Or nothing.
Or no? Or,
I was about
or
to say
nothing?
no.
Or
either.
nothing. Oh, okay.
No.
Sorry.
It makes me dread it more than I used to do, because at least before I used to get away with just walking away. Now you
got to take notes.
You Clockwork Orange me, and you sit me down and you strap me
you awake.
down and clamp my eyes up, and so I
don't
have to
really.
watch.
We don't really.
I mean, I have to prod you awake sometimes.
Oh yeah, you
Mostly
totally have to prod
rollerball.
me awake.
Yeah. Didn't you think she was dead when she was watching that?
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's how riveting it was. So on that note, we hope you enjoyed this final episode of season 1 of I Don't Do Sci-Fi. My duties as host is going to end. As we all know, I'm not the host. I think I've done very well, thank you very much, pat myself on the back. But I'm going to give the reins back over to host Rebecca.
So this concludes the first season of I Don't Do Sci-Fi. I hope you've enjoyed listening to this. We've enjoyed producing it, but that's not the end. So before season 2, we'll have a bonus episode coming out, which will be a surprise. And then we've got some exciting things planned for season 2 and more guests, some old, some new. Expect to hear more from the worlds of Nigel Neal, from Star Trek, and some properties we've not touched before.
Yay!
Covering different decades from the 50s to the 2020s.
So no more shitty 70s.
Oh, no, we'll definitely get into 70s.
No!
We're getting something from the 70s, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Do let us know what you thought. And our social media contacts will be at the end of the podcast. Please join us next season.
That's goodbye from me, Rebecca Ray. And goodbye from Dani Ray,
Bye.
John Isles,
Thanks for listening. Goodbye.
and Mark Alley.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to I Don't Do Sci-Fi. If you'd like to contact us or comment on the show, email us at idon'tdosci-fi@gmail.com, Twitter at I Don't Do Sci-Fi, on Instagram I Don't Do Sci-Fi, or on Facebook I Don't Do Sci-Fi. I Don't Do Sci-Fi was presented by John Isles, Dani Ray and Rebecca Ray, and our guest,
Mark Alley.
The theme tune was composed by Steve Johnson, and the podcast was directed and produced by Kevin Hiley.
And even closer to Aliens, you've got a young adolescent girl who's living in the ducks, living
Yes.
wild, and he's given a tracker by the main characters to wear.
Oh, so,
What?
Did you say living with the ducks?
Living in the ducks. Air
Air
ducts.
ducts. Quack.
Air ducts.
Quack, quack. Quack, quack, quack.
I heard it.
That was
Ducks. Ducks with a T. Sorry.